I tried recording this video already, but I didn't really like the footage, so now I'm doing it again. In 4K! So let's get right down to it. I'm going to be making a video on this knife. This is the Bear Ops B-200 balisong trainer, which I have not done another video on in over 5 years. And it is definitely needed. Let's get to it. If you want my opinion of the knife and its quality control, the original build quality and attention to detail and all of that, fit and finish, I would refer you back to my previous video on this, which was my unboxing. And there, in that video, you get to see the original finish of the blade and the handles and the issue I have on the handles and the finish of the G10. So if you want to see that, go back to that video. That being said, what we will talk about in this review is how the knife performs for its intended function, which is being a flipper. We're not going to deal on the fit and finish and the original build quality. We're going to talk about how the build has held up to being dropped and thrown around for 5 years. But before that, we're going to go over some just general specs. So first of all, the knife itself is not that light. It has G10 handles, so you'd think, well, with full synthetic handles, it'd be a little bit light. But they are about 1/4 inch thick slabs of G10, on top of having thick and fairly large stainless steel spacers. I believe they're stainless steel, along with then the blade. So it's not a light knife, and the total knife, as I use it, which is without the clip, is approximately 4.7 inches, and the clip will add on about 0.16 ounces on top of that, so for an overall of close to 4.9 ounces. So it's not a light knife. By comparison, the Benchmade Model 51 on my scale weighs approximately 3.4 to 3.5 from what I'm remembering when I did that weight measurement. As for the size, it's a fairly large knife as well. Overall length is 9 3/4 inches. The blade itself is 4 3/8, and the handle, or not necessarily the handle, but the closed length is 5 3/8. So it's not small, but long handles actually are very beneficial for flipping because you have just more to grab onto. Aerials benefit from it, rollovers benefit from it, all kinds of tricks benefit from a longer handled knife. And if you want evidence of this and how longer is typically better, I would recommend that if you have access to it somewhere, try flipping both the Benchmade Model 51 and then the Benchmade Model 32. They're the same knife, but one of them is about a 3-inch blade, whereas the other one's a 4 to 4.5. Well, about 4. So you'll feel how different they really are. And I know when I did it, there was a huge difference. So now that we have the specs out of the way, let's start talking about the build and how the build has worn over time. The two major places where I see wear are at the pivots and at the end of the handle here. And the end of the handle is simply because as the latch comes around, as it's open, it has smacked into the corner of these handles and really worn them down. You can see there, they are really aggressive angles right there because they've been worn down by this pin on this latch striking there. So that's one area, as well as the pivots themselves. Because this is G10 and it's G10 straight on the steel pins, it doesn't really have a lot of longevity there for wear and tear, and they have loosened up over time to where I could actually move the handle like this on the pin, which means that you don't have as much spacing down here, and especially in the closed position, there's not as much spacing here. In fact, before I tightened up the pivots before filming these videos, these handles were touching. They didn't have any space to where I had to close it with pressure. They were touching. So that's one area of that, as well as the pins being fairly short, thus pressing these tang pins into the cups on the handle. So there's wear here, from impact, and there's wear within the pivot area itself because it's G10 on steel wearing that away. Beyond those simple issues, and of course losing two screws down here because I took off the latch and then the screws I put back in I didn't Loctite, so they fell out. Beyond that, it is a very good flipper. From my limited experience with flippers, being a Baron Sun trainer, Knife Kits Typhoon, the Benchmade Model 51, and this. Out of those, this is an incredible value and an incredible performing tool. That being said, let's talk about value. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about balisongs, baby. Ow. So, this knife originally cost me $110 without shipping. $109. So $115 overall. I still believe this knife is a fantastic value at that price. However, it's currently on sale. On Blade HQ, you can get the newer version of this, which is the spear point model, but still the B-200 with the G10 handles and the pocket clip, for $60. Add on top of that as $6 shipping. I assume it's the same as when I bought it. $6 shipping on a $60 knife. Now, the newer version is the B-400, which has the aluminum handles. I believe it has a bearing system for the pivot, which may actually be better for a flipper, or it may not. There's some controversy, or there's some discussion about a bearing system and whether or not it's good for a balisong or not. But that being said, this one with the spear point blade and the aluminum handles, I don't know how it performs because I've never used one of these with the aluminum handles, but that one is currently out of stock. I don't know if it's even in production anymore, and it's still listed at $101. So right now, this knife can be had for about $80 on Amazon and $60 on Blade HQ, and I highly recommend it for that price, especially when you consider the cheaper option of the original Bear and Sun trainer, which it broke. Part of it. That's just, that's part of the material that the handles are made out of. That's a risk you take with this material, but that's about $30. It's extremely loose. It doesn't have any adjustability. It is a great flipper and a great choice if you're just trying to start out really cheap. But you can upgrade from this to something numerous times better for twice the price. Just twice the price, and you get this, which is longer. It's better for rollovers and aerials and everything. It has better balance. It's designed by flippers for flippers, and is designed to be a fantastic balisong. Now, I will grant this. Bear and Sun and Bear Ops, neither one have the best record for quality control and fit and finish. Out of the Bear and Sun tools I've had, which is this trainer and one other knife, I'm really not impressed with the fit and finish or quality control. Or maybe the quality control really is good because they're all the same level of quality, which is poor fit and finish. But I would say for the money and for what you get out of it, especially since this is a practice tool, the look, it doesn't really matter because it's going to get beat up. So go with something that will work really, really well for a decent price, which I believe this is. In order to get better than this, you really have to go up to something like the Benchmade Model 60 trainer, which I don't know if they even sell anymore, but when they were selling it, I believe it was upwards of $200. So just keep that in mind. There's the low range, which is the really cheap stuff, and the Bear and Sun trainer. Then there's the mid-range, which is around this, and then there's the upper range, which are Microtech, Tachyons, and other high-end trainers, and the Benchmade trainer. So for the price, it is fantastic. You really can't go wrong with it. And that really is my opinion of the knife as a whole, even after 5 years, and in its current state, after 5 years. Still worth it. Now I want to mention this since I'm talking about visuals and it being a knife that you're going to beat on and possibly even abuse because you are training with it. There was a person who commented on my unboxing video talking about, well, they have this version here on Amazon, or they have, it shows the picture of the clip point version on Amazon. Do you think if I order it, I'll get the clip point version? I really cannot say whether or not you will be able to even purchase the clip point version of the knife anymore. I can't, because even if Amazon shows the clip point on their website, that doesn't mean anything. Even if Blade HQ says it has a clip point, the picture is of the spear point. And if it says on Amazon, and if it says on Amazon it's the clip point version, and if it shows a picture of the clip point version, what I have learned is that's not necessarily indicative of what you will receive, because Amazon may not have updated the picture. Alright, final thoughts. I looked it up here while I was going between takes. The Benchmade Model 62T is currently $238. The B-200 trainer, which is currently the spear point blade, and I'll get to that in a second, is currently $60 on sale. I don't know how long that sale will last. The basic Baron Sun black or even the blue handled trainers are currently $29.99, which is about what I paid for this one. So it's pretty close. So, after considering price, availability, and quality, I would highly recommend the B-200 trainer to the experienced or inexperienced flipper just the same. It is a fantastic knife for a fantastic price. You can't really go wrong with this. Now I want to talk about the spear point, the blade profile. One guy commented on my previous video asking about the knife currently and it being available on Amazon or Blade HQ, and basically he wanted to get the clip point version, like this. I don't believe they make this anymore. I believe they only produce the spear point blade. Some of you guys, you may recognize this. This is the balisong pin made by Spyderco. I have two of these. They're in the boxes because they're more compact that way. I've basically broken both of them. So those are one way to practice a balisong without having the real thing or even a real trainer. This is what I used to learn, okay? But this is Lego Technic, aka Bionicle, later on in his lifetime, and it really does not look that great or even perform that well, but it did perform the function of teaching me how to use a balisong. The blade profile on this knife shouldn't really matter because it is teaching you safely. Like I said, that's my opinion. My opinion does not have to be your opinion, but I do think you should consider that. Final thoughts. Alright. I definitely recommend this. Even at $115, which is what I paid, I recommend it. But at the current $60, you definitely cannot go wrong. Go get yourself one. Do it. Just do it! Do it! First knife review. Done.